Parents who have adopted an older child, 5 and up, how has it gone for you? When I adopted 9-year-old Emma, everyone warned me that she'd probably have trust issues. What nobody warned me about was how terrified she was of being too comfortable. She arrived carrying a faded purple duffel bag that looked older than she was. The social worker smiled, handed me a stack of paperwork, and left. Emma walked inside, looked around my house, and quietly asked, "Which room am I borrowing?" Borrowing? Not my room. Just borrowing. I showed her the bedroom I'd spent weeks decorating. New comforter, bookshelf, stuffed animals, glow-in-the-dark stars on the ceiling. She looked at everything for maybe 10 seconds. "It's nice," she whispered. Then she put the duffel bag in the corner. She never opened it. The next morning, I noticed she was wearing the exact same clothes. I gently reminded her she'd packed other outfits. She nodded and finally unzipped the bag. Every piece of clothing inside was folded so perfectly it looked untouched. She took out one shirt, changed, folded yesterday's clothes into a tiny square, and packed them right back. Nothing stayed outside that bag, not even her toothbrush. Every night she'd brush her teeth, dry the toothbrush, and put it back inside before zipping the bag shut. After 2 weeks, I asked if she'd like a dresser. She looked confused. "Why? So you don't have to keep living out of your bag." She stared at me. "It's easier this way." I didn't understand what she meant. Not yet. She was unbelievably polite. Too polite. She never asked for snacks. Never turned on the TV without permission. Never laughed too loudly. If I cooked dinner, she'd always leave part of it on the plate. When I asked if she didn't like my cooking, she quietly said, "I shouldn't eat too much. Grown-ups notice." That sentence stayed with me all night. Then, about a month later, I came home early from work. I heard movement upstairs. Emma was carefully making her bed. Not unusual, except she was stripping the sheets off completely. I asked what she was doing. Without looking at me, she said, "I wanted everything clean before the next kid comes." I felt like someone had punched me. The next kid. She finally looked up. When families don't want me anymore, another kid usually gets my room. I thought I'd help. I could barely speak. I told her nobody was replacing her. She gave me the saddest little smile. They all said that. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept wondering how many adults had promised forever and then disappeared. The following weekend, I decided to stop telling Emma she belonged. I wanted to show her. I took her shopping. Not for toys. Not for clothes. For paint. When we reached the paint aisle, I handed her every color sample. "You get to choose." She frowned. "What if you don't like it? It's your room." She looked completely frozen. After almost 20 minutes, she picked a deep green. The employee asked me if I wanted to double check the color. Before I could answer, Emma quickly whispered, "It's okay. You can pick something else." I smiled. "Nope, green it is." We spent the entire Saturday painting together. By the end, there were green fingerprints on the walls, paint in my hair, and Emma accidentally spilled half a tray onto the carpet. She immediately burst into tears. "I'm sorry. I'll pack my stuff." She actually ran upstairs. When I found her, she'd already zipped up that old duffel bag. I sat beside her. "You know what I'm worried about?" She sniffled. "The carpet?" I laughed. "No." "The wall?" "No." She looked confused. "I'm worried that if we don't finish painting today, our room won't match." She blinked. "Our room?" "Yeah, because you're staying here long enough to complain about the color in a few years." For the first time, she laughed. A real laugh. When we finished the room, I handed her a permanent marker. She looked at me like I was crazy. I pointed behind the bedroom door. "Write today's date." She hesitated. "Why?" "So someday, when you're 16 and telling me this room is embarrassing, we'll remember the day we painted it together." She slowly wrote the date. Then underneath it, she wrote one tiny sentence. "I think I'm home." Months later, I noticed something that made me stop in the hallway. That old purple duffel bag was still there, but it wasn't packed anymore. It was lying flat under her bed, empty. She'd finally unpacked without saying a single word. She never needed to. That empty bag said everything.